On the edge of a quiet green forest, a small wooden cabin stood alone. Its walls were old and the paint had begun to peel, but it had a charm that made it look welcoming to anyone passing by. The cabin sat on a small hill, surrounded by tall trees that swayed gently in the wind. Birds chirped in the morning sun, and the soft rustle of leaves gave the forest a calm, peaceful feeling. But this morning, peace did not exist for the brown dog that ran frantically through the trees. Max, a medium-sized dog with soft brown fur and intelligent eyes, raced along the forest floor. His paws pounded against the soft earth and his tail was straight and tense. Something had happened and he could feel it in his bones. Max's nose twitched as he picked up a scent, a strange mixture of fear, sadness, and urgency. He barked sharply, a sound that echoed across the empty forest. Max reached the small cabin and began scratching at the wooden door with his paws. He barked again, louder this time, his nails scraping against the old wood. The sound was urgent, almost desperate. Max's ears were perked, his eyes wide, and his whole body trembled. He had never scratched a door like this before, and he had never been this worried. Something inside the cabin, or perhaps beyond it, needed him, and he could not wait another moment. Inside the cabin, a young man named Tom was waking up. Tom was in his late 20s with short black hair and kind eyes. He had lived in the cabin for several months, enjoying the quiet life away from the city. He loved the forest and its calmness, and he spent his days exploring the trees, reading by the fireplace or cooking simple meals. But today, the sound of barking pulled him from sleep before the sun had fully risen. Tom rubbed his eyes and got out of bed. He walked to the door, his bare feet making soft sounds on the wooden floor. When he opened the door, he froze for a moment. There was Max, scratching and barking, looking almost frantic. Tom could see the fear in the dog's eyes. "Max," he said gently, kneeling down, "what's wrong, boy?" Max barked again and nudged Tom's hand with his nose, trying to push him toward the forest. Tom noticed scratches on the ground near the door, deep marks in the soil as if something had struggled. He felt a sudden chill. Max was not just worried for himself, he was trying to lead Tom somewhere. Tom grabbed a thick blanket, thinking it might help whoever was out there, and followed Max as the dog ran through the forest. Max moved quickly but carefully, weaving between the trees and over fallen branches. He stopped occasionally, looking back at Tom to make sure he was following. The forest was alive with morning sounds, birds singing, leaves rustling, and a distant stream trickling. But Tom hardly noticed these usual sounds. His attention was entirely on Max and the feeling of urgency that seemed to radiate from the dog. After a few minutes, Max reached a small clearing. The sunlight streamed down in golden rays, making the grass shine as if sprinkled with tiny stars. In the middle of the clearing, under the shade of a large oak tree, lay a small figure. Tom froze for a moment, unsure what he would see. Then he realized it was a little girl, her hair messy, her clothes torn and dirty. She was lying on the ground, breathing softly but unevenly, and her eyes were closed. Max ran straight to her, circling her body, nudging her gently with his nose. He barked softly, not in alarm, but in a comforting way, as if telling her she was safe now. Tom approached slowly, careful not to scare her. "Hey there," he said softly, kneeling beside her. "It's okay. You're safe now." The girl's eyes fluttered open and she blinked at Tom, confusion and fear in her gaze. She could not speak, but Tom could see she had been through something difficult. Her hands were scratched, and her clothes had dirt stains from the forest floor. Max stayed close to her, pressing his body against hers as if to shield her from any danger. Tom felt a lump in his throat. The sight of the dog protecting the girl was powerful and heartwarming. He had never seen loyalty like this before. Tom gently wrapped the blanket around the girl. She shivered slightly, and Max nudged her again, trying to calm her. Tom noticed a small backpack next to her, torn at the corners. Inside there were a few personal belongings, a small notebook, a pencil, and a water bottle. It seemed like she had been traveling alone through the forest for some time. Tom looked at Max and said, "You saved her, didn't you, boy?" Max barked once, then wagged his tail slightly. It was clear he had been searching for her, and the dog had never stopped until he found her. Tom felt a mixture of gratitude and awe. He had heard stories of dogs finding people in trouble, but seeing it with his own eyes was different. The bond between Max and the girl was immediate and undeniable. Tom decided they needed to return to the cabin, where it would be warm and safe. He picked up the girl gently, holding her close to keep her comfortable. Max ran ahead, then turned back frequently to make sure Tom was following. The forest no longer felt quiet. It was alive with the rhythm of their journey, with Max leading the way and Tom carrying the girl toward safety. When they reached the cabin, Tom laid the girl on the couch and covered her with the blanket. Max stayed beside her, his head resting near her feet. Tom sat down in a chair, taking a deep breath. He looked at Max, whose eyes met his, full of understanding. It was as if the dog was saying, "I did what I had to do. She needed me." The girl began to stir more, her breathing steadying. Tom could see the relief in her eyes. She reached out to touch Max, and the dog licked her hand gently, careful not to hurt her. Tom felt a warmth spread through him. Despite the fear and worry they had all faced, this moment brought a sense of hope and connection. Tom knew that the forest could be dangerous, especially for someone alone, and he realized how brave Max had been. The dog had faced the unknown, chased through trees and over rough ground, all to protect someone in need. Tom's heart was full of admiration for Max and a new sense of responsibility for the little girl. He offered her some water, and she drank slowly. Tom asked her name and she whispered softly, "Mia." Max wagged his tail again as if approving of the name. Tom smiled gently.
"Mia, you're safe now."
"You don't have to worry anymore." Mia nodded, still a little frightened, but she felt comforted by Max's presence and Tom's calm voice. The morning passed slowly, but each moment was filled with care and attention. Tom made a simple breakfast and Mia ate quietly while Max sat nearby, watching over her. The sun climbed higher in the sky, casting light into the cabin, and the forest outside seemed peaceful again. But Tom knew the day had changed forever. He, Max, and Mia were connected by something important, a shared experience that none of them would ever forget. By the time the sun was fully up, Tom had prepared a small bed for Mia near the fireplace. Max curled up at her feet, his ears alert to every sound outside. Tom looked at them and felt a deep sense of gratitude. The dog's desperate scratches at the cabin door had led him to Mia, and in that moment, he realized how much courage and loyalty could exist in a heart, whether human or animal. The forest around the cabin continued its quiet song, but inside, there was warmth, safety, and a beginning of a new story. Tom knew that together they could face anything. Max had shown the true meaning of bravery and love, and Mia had found protection and care when she needed it most. The bond between them was unspoken but strong, and it would grow with each passing day. In that small cabin on the edge of the forest, life had changed. A dog's desperate scratches had revealed a truth. Sometimes love and loyalty come when we need them most, and the smallest acts of courage can save a life. The morning sunlight filled the cabin with warmth, and the quiet sound of the forest outside created a peaceful background. Tom watched as Max rested beside Mia, his eyes alert, still protective. Mia was sitting up on the couch, brushing her messy hair with her small hands, and Tom could see the curiosity and fear still in her eyes. He knew she needed more than safety. She needed answers, comfort, and a sense of trust. Tom gently sat on the floor in front of her. "Mia," he said softly, "can you tell me how you got here?" Mia looked down, twisting the edge of the blanket nervously. She hesitated, then whispered, "I was lost. I didn't know where to go." Her voice was tiny, almost breaking, but Tom leaned closer and smiled reassuringly. "It's okay, Mia. You're safe now. We will figure everything out together." Max let out a soft bark as if agreeing with Tom. His brown eyes met Mia's and she reached out her small hand to touch his head. Max nudged her gently, careful and patient. For the first time in the morning, Mia smiled slightly, a small glimmer of relief crossing her face. Tom felt a sense of pride in the dog. He had been right to trust Max's instincts. After a few moments, Tom decided they needed food. He moved to the kitchen, preparing simple bread with honey and a cup of warm milk for Mia. Max sat nearby, watching everything carefully, almost as if he were the guardian of the kitchen. Mia followed Tom's movements quietly. She had no appetite yet, but the smell of food made her pause, and she slowly took a bite. As Mia ate, Tom noticed small scratches and bruises on her arms. He realized she must have been in the forest for some time. His heart tightened, but he forced himself to stay calm. He needed to show strength, not fear. He fetched a first aid kit and gently cleaned the small wounds. Mia flinched slightly, but Max stayed close, leaning against her, giving her confidence. Once Mia felt comfortable, Tom guided her to a small table by the window. "Mia," he said softly, "can you tell me what happened yesterday?" She hesitated again, but then spoke slowly. "I was walking. I wanted to see the forest. I didn't know it was so big. I followed a butterfly and I got lost." She looked down, tears forming in her eyes. Max nudged her hand, calming her, and she stroked his fur, feeling safer. Tom nodded, understanding. "The forest is beautiful, but it can be tricky if you are alone. I'm glad Max found you." Mia looked at Max, her eyes wide with wonder. He came for me?" she asked quietly. Tom smiled. "Yes, Mia. Max never gives up when someone needs him. He is very brave." Max wagged his tail slightly as if acknowledging the praise. After breakfast, Tom thought about what they should do next. The sun was higher now and the forest was fully awake. Birds sang and the wind moved through the leaves. Tom realized that Mia needed not only care, but also understanding and reassurance that she would not be alone again. He decided to let her rest for a while. Then they could talk more. Mia lay on the couch with a small pillow, Max curling beside her. Tom watched them quietly, thinking about how a dog's loyalty could change lives. He remembered the desperate scratches at the cabin door and how Max had never stopped until he found her. It was a lesson in courage, patience, and love that Tom could see clearly now. After some time, Mia woke up fully. Her eyes were brighter and she seemed more relaxed. Tom offered her a glass of water and she drank it slowly. "Do you want to see outside?" Tom asked. Mia nodded eagerly and Max jumped up as if excited for the adventure. Tom opened the cabin door and the fresh forest air filled the room. The sunlight made the leaves shine and the birds sang cheerfully. Mia stepped outside carefully, holding Tom's hand. Max ran ahead, sniffing the ground and checking the path, then looked back to make sure Mia was following. Tom smiled at the sight. It was a simple moment, but it was full of trust, care, and companionship. The forest that had once seemed dangerous now felt welcoming, especially with Max by their side. Tom led Mia to a small clearing near the cabin where the sunlight touched the grass. "This is a safe place," he said softly. Mia knelt down and touched the grass, feeling the warmth under her fingers. Max lay down nearby, keeping an eye on her. Tom watched them and realized how important it was for Mia to feel safe and free at the same time. As the day passed, Tom told Mia about the cabin in the forest. He explained which paths were safe and which areas were tricky. Mia listened carefully, learning quickly. Max stayed close the whole time, showing that he was always ready to protect her. Tom realized that the bond between Mia and Max was growing stronger with each passing hour. Later, Tom and Mia decided to explore the area around the cabin, but only the safe parts. Max ran ahead, sniffing the ground and the trees, alert to every sound. Mia followed Tom closely, holding his hand tightly. She pointed at birds and flowers, laughing softly when Max barked at a squirrel. It was the first time she had smiled freely since she had been found. Tom noticed that Mia was beginning to trust him and Max. Her small hand rested on Max's head, and she leaned against Tom's arm as they walked. The forest, which had seemed so scary to her, now felt like a place of wonder. Tom felt a sense of relief and happiness. He knew that this was only the beginning, but the first steps were always the hardest. As the afternoon sun began to dip, Tom decided it was time to return to the cabin. Max ran ahead, then came back to Mia, nudging her gently. Tom felt proud of the dog. Max had not only saved her, but had also helped her feel safe again. It was a rare and beautiful thing to witness, and Tom knew that their bond would last forever. Inside the cabin, Tom prepared a small snack for Mia. She ate quietly, but Tom could see her energy returning. Max sat beside her, watching over her like a loyal guardian. The quiet moments in the cabin were filled with warmth and safety, a contrast to the fear Mia had felt in the forest. Tom knew that with time, she would feel completely safe and happy again. As evening approached, Tom lit a small fire in the fireplace. The flames danced on the walls, casting soft shadows. Mia sat on the couch with a blanket wrapped around her, Max at her feet. Tom sat nearby, telling stories of the forest, animals, and small adventures. Mia listened, her eyes bright with curiosity and interest. Max occasionally barked softly, as if adding to the story in his own way. The day had been long, but it had brought healing and trust. Tom realized how much courage Mia had shown even though she had been scared. Max had been her guide, protector, and friend, showing that bravery could come in many forms. Tom felt gratitude for the dog's instincts and for the chance to help Mia. By nightfall, the forest was quiet again. The wind whispered through the trees and the stars began to shine above. Inside the cabin, the warmth of the fire and the presence of Max and Tom made Mia feel safe and loved. She leaned against Max, feeling his soft fur against her cheek, and closed her eyes with a sense of peace she had not known for many days. Tom watched over her, reflecting on the day's events. He knew that the forest held many secrets, but with Max by their side, they could face anything. The bond between a dog and a human, and now a little girl, was something powerful and unbreakable. It was a story of trust, loyalty, and courage that began with a single desperate scratch at a cabin door. Tom whispered softly to Max, "Thank you, boy. You found her and you kept her safe. You are a true hero." Max barked softly in reply, tail wagging as if he understood every word. Mia stirred slightly, opening her eyes and smiling at Max. In that small cabin, surrounded by the quiet forest, the three of them felt connected, safe, and ready for whatever tomorrow might bring. The morning sunlight filtered through the cabin windows, casting warm patterns across the wooden floor. Max lay at the foot of the couch, his ears alert, watching over Mia as she stretched and yawned. Tom had gone outside to gather some fresh water from the nearby stream, leaving the cabin quiet except for the soft rustle of the forest outside. The calm morning gave everyone a sense of safety, but Tom knew that Mia's story was far from over. When Tom returned with a small bucket of water, he found Mia already sitting by the window, watching the forest. Her small hands rested on the wooden frame, and her eyes seemed to search the trees as if looking for something familiar. Tom poured some water into a cup for her and another for Max, who drank quickly before wagging his tail. Mia took a slow sip, thinking carefully about her next words. "Tom," she began softly, her voice barely audible. Tom sat beside her, attentive and calm. I didn't just get lost," she whispered. Her eyes looked down and she seemed nervous to continue. Tom placed a gentle hand on hers. "It's okay, Mia, you can tell me everything. I promise I won't be upset. I want to help you." Mia took a deep breath and looked at Max, who tilted his head as if encouraging her to speak. "I ran away," she admitted quietly. I wanted to find the old cabin my grandmother told me about. She said it was special and I wanted to see it with my own eyes." Tom listened carefully, letting her words sink in. He understood the curiosity and bravery in her voice. Children often dreamed of adventures, but the forest could be dangerous if you were alone. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Tom asked gently. Mia shook her head. "I didn't think anyone would understand. I thought I could find it myself." Her small voice trembled slightly, and Tom could see the courage it took for her to speak. Max nudged her hand with his nose, providing silent comfort. She smiled faintly at him, feeling reassured. Tom decided they needed a plan. "Mia, I'm glad you told me. We will find the place you are looking for, but we will do it safely. Max and I will be with you the whole time. No one will get hurt and we will make sure you are safe." Mia nodded, her eyes brightening. She had been scared and alone, but now she felt supported by Tom and Max. After breakfast, Tom packed a small backpack with essentials: water, a first aid kit, some snacks, and a notebook for Mia. He suggested she write down anything she remembered about her grandmother's stories or the cabin she wanted to find. Mia's eyes lit up with excitement. She had been worried before, but now she felt ready for a careful adventure, one that would not put her in danger. Max led the way as they walked through the forest, sniffing the ground and listening for any unusual sounds. Mia held Tom's hand tightly, watching the trees pass by. The sunlight danced through the leaves, creating moving patterns on the ground. Birds chirped, squirrels ran along branches, and the forest seemed alive with gentle energy. Tom felt a sense of calm and focus. He knew that with Max's guidance they could explore without worry. As they walked, Mia began to tell stories her grandmother had shared. She described a small clearing with a large oak tree, where her grandmother had once placed a wooden box. The box contained small keepsakes and notes about family history. Mia had always wanted to see it, but she had never imagined the forest could be so wide and difficult to navigate. Max barked softly as if understanding the importance of the story. Tom listened carefully, noting landmarks and paths. "We will look for the oak tree together," he said gently. "Max will help us find it safely. Don't worry, Mia. She smiled, feeling comforted by Tom's words and Max's presence. The journey became a mixture of adventure and learning, with each step teaching Mia more about the forest and about how to move safely. As the day passed, they reached a small hill covered with wildflowers. Mia paused to examine them, bending down to touch the petals. Max ran ahead, sniffing the ground and checking the trees for any sign of danger. Tom followed, careful to stay close to Mia. The forest seemed friendlier now, and Mia's fear had been replaced by curiosity and wonder. She had begun to trust that she was not alone, and that safety could be found even in the unknown. Suddenly, Max stopped and lifted his nose. He barked softly, then ran a few steps forward before turning back to look at Tom and Mia. Tom knew the dog had found a clue. They followed him carefully through the trees until they reached a small clearing. There, partially hidden under a thick layer of leaves, was a wooden box, old and weathered but still intact. Mia gasped softly, her hands trembling as she approached it. "This must be it," she whispered. Max barked softly, circling the box as if guarding it. Tom knelt beside her, helping her lift the lid. Inside were small keepsakes, photographs, letters, and tiny objects that had belonged to Mia's grandmother. Mia's eyes filled with tears as she examined each item. She looked up at Tom and whispered, "I found it." Just like she said, Tom smiled warmly. "I'm glad we found it together, Mia." And Max helped too. "He never gave up on you, did he?" Mia nodded, hugging Max tightly. The dog licked her cheek gently, his eyes full of loyalty and love. It was a moment of triumph and connection, one that would remain in Mia's heart forever. After examining the box, Mia sat quietly, thinking about the stories her grandmother had shared. Tom encouraged her to write down anything she remembered in her notebook. She carefully began to write, sometimes pausing to ask questions or look at the items in the box. Max stayed close, lying beside her and resting his head on her knee, a constant and comforting presence. As the afternoon sun began to lower, Tom suggested they head back to the cabin. Mia agreed, carefully closing the box and tucking it safely into her backpack. Max ran ahead, checking the path, then returned to ensure Mia and Tom were following. The forest seemed calmer now, the adventure complete, and the bond between the three of them stronger than ever. Back at the cabin, Tom helped Mia clean up and settle down. Max lay at her feet, his eyes always alert. Mia spoke softly, telling Tom about her grandmother's life and the lessons she had learned. Tom listened attentively, fascinated by the stories and proud of the courage Mia had shown. Max occasionally barked softly, as if adding approval to every story. As evening approached, the cabin became warm and cozy. Tom lit a small fire, and Mia curled up on the couch with her notebook and the keepsakes from the box. Max rested at her side, his presence a calming shield. Tom sat nearby, reflecting on the day. He had witnessed courage, loyalty, and the power of connection between a dog and a child. It was a bond that could not be broken, and one that would guide them through any challenge. Before night fell, Tom prepared a simple meal, and Mia ate quietly, smiling occasionally at Max, who watched over her like a guardian. The forest outside was quiet, the stars beginning to shine above, and inside the cabin there was warmth, safety, and a sense of completion. Tom realized that today had brought not only discovery but also healing. Mia had faced fear, learned trust, and found the courage to explore, all with Max by her side. Finally, Tom tucked Mia in near the fireplace, ensuring she was comfortable and warm. Max curled up beside her, resting his head on the edge of the blanket. Mia hugged the dog gently, whispering a soft thank you. Tom smiled, understanding that the smallest acts of loyalty and courage could change a life forever. The night was calm, the forest peaceful, and the cabin full of quiet warmth. Tom looked at Max and Mia, grateful for the journey they had shared. Max had been the guide, the protector, and the hero, and Mia had shown bravery and trust. Together they had uncovered a part of her family's history, experienced adventure, and formed a bond that would last a lifetime. In the quiet of the cabin, with the stars shining above and the fire crackling gently, Tom realized that the forest held stories waiting to be discovered. And sometimes the bravest heroes came in the form of a loyal dog. Max had shown that love, courage, and determination could lead to extraordinary outcomes. Mia had learned that safety and adventure could exist together, and Tom felt certain that their lives would never be the same again. The next morning, The forest was alive with the gentle sounds of nature. Birds chirped melodiously, and the sunlight filtered through the tall trees, casting soft shadows on the ground. Max ran ahead of Tom and Mia, sniffing the earth carefully and pausing occasionally to ensure the path was safe. Mia held Tom's hand tightly, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She had grown more confident since the previous day, but the forest was still full of surprises. Tom led the way to a part of the forest that was denser and less explored. "We will be careful," he said, his voice calm but steady. "Max will guide us, and I will stay close to you, Mia." Mia nodded, gripping his hand, and Max barked softly as if agreeing. The trio moved forward, stepping over roots and fallen branches, their eyes alert to every sound. As they walked deeper, the forest grew quieter. The usual chirping of birds seemed distant, and the wind barely rustled the leaves. Mia felt a small shiver run through her. "Tom," she whispered, "it feels strange here." Tom looked around, scanning the surroundings. "It's okay, Mia. Sometimes forests have quiet spots. We just need to stay aware." Max sniffed the air and barked softly, his tail held high. He led the way confidently, his eyes scanning for any danger. After walking for a while, they reached a narrow path surrounded by tall ferns and thick bushes. The path looked old, rarely used, and the forest floor was uneven. Tom helped Mia step carefully, and Max ran ahead, checking each turn. Suddenly, Max stopped and lifted his head, ears pointed forward. He barked, alerting them to something ahead. Tom approached slowly and saw a small wooden bridge crossing a narrow stream. The bridge looked fragile, with some boards loose and worn. Mia hesitated, gripping Tom's hand tightly. "Is it safe?" she asked nervously. Tom knelt beside her, examining the bridge carefully. "It looks old, but if we cross one at a time and follow Max's lead, we should be fine." Max barked again, encouraging them to move forward. Mia took a deep breath and stepped onto the bridge, holding Tom's hand. The wood creaked under her weight, but Max ran ahead without hesitation, testing each board with his paws. Tom followed slowly, supporting Mia and guiding her steps. The stream below sparkled in the sunlight, and the sound of flowing water created a peaceful background. Despite the tension, Mia felt a sense of trust in Max and Tom, knowing they would keep her safe. Once across the bridge, they continued along the narrow path. The forest grew thicker, with tall trees forming a canopy that filtered the sunlight into golden beams. Mia noticed strange markings on some trees, like small carvings in the bark. "What are those?" she asked. Tom smiled. "Those are signs left by people who walked here before us. They might have been explorers or travelers who wanted to mark the path." Mia's eyes widened with curiosity. She reached out to touch the carvings, feeling a connection to those who had passed before her. As they moved further, they heard a soft rustling ahead. Max stopped suddenly, ears raised, and growled softly. Tom held Mia close. "Stay calm," he whispered. Slowly, they approached the source of the sound and discovered a small fawn caught in some vines. Its legs were tangled, and it struggled gently, frightened but not hurt. Mia gasped and knelt down, careful not to scare the animal. "We have to help it," she whispered. Tom nodded. "Yes, but carefully. Max, stay close but don't touch yet." Max sat beside Mia, watching intently, ready to protect if needed. Tom carefully untangled the vines, and Mia helped as much as she could. The fawn stayed calm, sensing their gentle approach. After a few minutes, it was free and stood on shaky legs. It looked at them for a moment, then ran into the forest. Mia smiled widely. "We helped it," she said softly. Max barked happily, and Tom ruffled his fur. The small act of kindness gave them new energy. They continued their journey, deeper into the forest, guided by Max's instincts and Tom's careful leadership. Mia began to notice small wonders along the way. Colorful flowers, birds building nests, and sunlight shining through the leaves in patterns that seemed magical. The forest, once intimidating, now felt like a place of discovery and learning. By late morning, they reached a hill that overlooked a valley filled with mist. The view was breathtaking. Trees stretched as far as the eye could see, and a river glimmered in the distance. Mia stood in awe, taking in the beauty. Max ran to the edge of the hill, tail wagging as if sharing the wonder with her. Tom smiled. "It's amazing, isn't it?" he said. Mia nodded, feeling grateful for the journey and the bond she shared with Max and Tom. Suddenly, Mia remembered the stories her grandmother had told her about the special cabin in the forest. "Tom," she said excitedly, I think we are close to the place my grandmother talked about. Max barked, his ears pointing forward. Tom looked around, considering the landmarks Mia had described. The signs seemed to match, and he nodded. Then let's move carefully. Max, lead the way. The path became steeper and the forest denser. Roots and rocks made it challenging to walk, but Mia was determined, holding Tom's hand tightly. Max ran ahead, sniffing the ground and stopping occasionally to make sure the path was clear. Tom encouraged Mia, praising her for her bravery and careful steps. The journey required patience, focus, and trust, and each step brought them closer to the goal. After a long walk, they reached a small clearing. Sunlight poured in, illuminating a wooden cabin hidden among the trees. It was smaller than Mia had imagined, but it had a charm that made it feel special. The walls were weathered and the roof was covered with moss, but the cabin radiated a quiet beauty. Mia's eyes filled with tears of joy. "It's here," she whispered, barely able to speak. Max barked happily, running around the clearing in excitement. Tom helped Mia approach the cabin. She examined the walls, the windows, and the door, feeling a deep connection to the place her grandmother had described. Max stayed close, guarding her as she explored. Mia reached the small porch and knelt down to touch the wooden railing. "It's real," she said softly. "It's exactly how my grandmother said it would be." Tom smiled warmly, watching the joy on her face. Max barked again, as if celebrating the moment with them. Inside the cabin, they found small items left by previous visitors: a wooden chair, a few books, and a table with carvings similar to those Mia had seen on the trees. Mia explored carefully, touching each item and imagining the stories behind them. Max stayed by the door, alert and watchful, ready to protect her at any moment. Tom followed, ensuring her safety and sharing in her wonder. As the afternoon sun lowered, Tom suggested they take a rest. Mia sat on the floor, leaning against Max, while Tom inspected the cabin to make sure it was safe. The small space was cozy and quiet, filled with the sounds of the forest outside. Mia felt a sense of peace she had not known before. Max's presence made her feel protected, and Tom's calm voice reassured her that she was not alone. Tom encouraged Mia to write about her adventure in her notebook. She began carefully, describing the path, the fawn, and the cabin. Max sat beside her, resting his head on her knee as if reading along. The bond between them had grown stronger with each moment of the journey. Mia felt grateful for Tom's guidance and Max's loyalty. As the evening approached, the sky turned shades of orange and pink, casting a magical glow over the cabin and clearing. Mia and Tom sat outside, watching the color shift while Max rested nearby. Mia whispered softly, "Thank you, Max, you never let me down." Max wagged his tail, leaning against her gently. Tom smiled, understanding the depth of their connection. The forest was quiet now, filled with the gentle rustle of leaves and distant bird calls. Inside the small cabin, the warmth of friendship, trust, and discovery wrapped around them. Mia had found the cabin her grandmother spoke of, learned to trust the forest, and experienced the bravery of a loyal dog. Tom knew that this adventure had changed them all. The night was approaching, and the forest prepared for its quiet rest. Stars began to appear above, twinkling softly. Inside the cabin, Mia curled up with Max at her side, feeling safe and content. Tom sat nearby, reflecting on the day's journey and the lessons they had learned. Loyalty, courage, and kindness had guided them, and the bond between human and dog had created a story worth remembering. The next morning, sunlight poured into the cabin, filling the small space with warmth. Birds chirped outside, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of pine and fresh earth. Mia woke up slowly, stretching and blinking as she saw Max lying at her feet, his eyes bright and watchful. Tom was already awake, preparing a simple breakfast of bread and fruit. The atmosphere in the cabin was calm and full of quiet happiness. Mia sat up, brushing her hair back from her face. "Good morning, Max," she whispered softly. The dog lifted his head, wagging his tail gently, and licked her hand in response. Tom smiled at the small exchange, feeling grateful for the bond between them. He poured some water for Max and Mia, and placed a plate of fruit on the table. The morning felt full of promise, and the previous day's challenges seemed lighter now. After breakfast, Tom suggested they take another walk in the forest. "Today we will explore a little more, but carefully," he said. Mia nodded eagerly, ready for the adventure. Max barked softly, running ahead to scout the path. Mia held Tom's hand tightly as they stepped outside. The forest felt alive. welcoming them with the rustling of leaves, birdsong, and the sunlight filtering through the trees. As they walked, Mia talked about her grandmother and the stories she had shared. She described how the cabin had been a place of special memories, and how she had always dreamed of finding it. Tom listened carefully, encouraging her to share every detail. Max ran beside them, occasionally stopping to sniff the ground or examine the path, always alert and protective. They reached a small clearing near the cabin where wildflowers grew in clusters. Mia knelt down, touching the soft petals and inhaling their sweet scent. "It's so beautiful here," she said softly. Tom knelt beside her. "The forest has many wonders," he said. "Sometimes we need to be brave and patient to discover them." Max barked gently, wagging his tail, as if agreeing with Tom's words. After a while, Tom suggested they visit a small stream nearby. The water flowed gently over smooth stones, sparkling in the sunlight. Mia knelt by the edge of the stream, dipping her fingers into the cool water. Max drank quickly, then shook his fur, sending tiny droplets into the air. Mia laughed, a clear sound that echoed through the trees, and Tom smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. As they followed the stream, Mia noticed footprints along the soft mud. "Someone else has been here," she said, curiosity brightening her eyes. Tom examined them carefully. "Yes, it looks like travelers passed by recently, but we are safe." Max has been watching carefully. Max barked softly, walking ahead to check the path. Mia felt reassured by the dog's presence, realizing how much she had come to trust him. The forest grew thicker as they walked further. Sunlight filtered through the branches, casting golden patterns on the ground. Mia began to notice small animals peeking through the trees. Squirrels, rabbits, and colorful birds perched on branches. Each discovery brought excitement and wonder. Tom encouraged her to observe carefully, teaching her how to respect the forest and its creatures. Max ran ahead, occasionally returning to check on Mia and Tom, ensuring they were safe. By midday, they reached another small clearing with a large oak tree in the center. Its branches spread wide, and the sunlight created a soft glow around it. Mia's eyes widened as she approached the tree. "This looks like the place my grandmother described," she said softly. Max barked excitedly, circling the tree, his tail wagging. Tom knelt beside Mia, examining the tree carefully. "It's beautiful," he said, "and you were brave to find it." Mia knelt down and explored the roots and surrounding area. She noticed small carvings similar to those her grandmother had described. Max stayed close, his eyes alert to every movement in the forest. Mia's heart swelled with happiness and gratitude. She felt connected to her grandmother, the forest, and her companions. Tom encouraged her to take notes and draw in her notebook, capturing the details of this special place. As the afternoon sun began to lower, Tom suggested they head back to the cabin. "We have explored enough for today," he said. Mia nodded, carefully packing her notebook and supplies into her small backpack. Max ran ahead, sniffing the ground and checking the path, then returned to ensure Mia and Tom were following safely. The forest seemed calm now, filled with soft sounds and gentle light. Back at the cabin, Mia and Tom prepared a small meal. Max rested nearby, his ears alert but relaxed. Mia sat at the table, writing in her notebook about the oak tree, the stream, and the adventures they had shared. Tom watched her quietly, feeling proud of her courage and determination. Max occasionally barked softly, reminding them of the loyal presence that had guided them through every step of their journey. After the meal, Tom suggested they spend the rest of the day resting and enjoying the cabin. Mia curled up on the couch with Max at her side, stroking his fur gently. Tom read aloud from a small book he had found in the cabin, telling stories of animals, forests, and friendship. Max lay quietly, listening attentively, and Mia smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace and happiness. As evening approached, the sky outside turned shades of orange and pink. The forest was bathed in warm light, and the sounds of the day grew softer. Tom lit a small fire in the fireplace, and the warmth filled the cabin. Mia and Max settled nearby, feeling safe and comfortable. Tom reflected on the journey they had shared, the challenges, the discoveries, and the growing bond between them. Mia looked at Max and whispered, "Thank you for finding me, Max. I don't know what I would have done without you." The dog nudged her hand gently as if acknowledging her gratitude. Tom smiled, realizing that the loyalty and courage of a dog could teach important lessons about trust, love, and friendship. Max had not only saved Mia but had guided her through fear and uncertainty, showing her that safety and care could always be found. Night fell, and the forest grew quiet under the starlit sky. The cabin was warm and cozy, filled with the soft crackle of the fire. Mia lay down with Max curled at her feet, feeling comforted by his presence. Tom sat nearby, thinking about how much had changed in just a few days. They had faced fear, explored the unknown, and discovered the power of courage and loyalty. Before going to sleep, Tom spoke softly to Mia. "Remember, the forest has many stories, and you are part of one now. You were brave, and Max helped you every step of the way." Mia smiled, closing her eyes. "I will never forget this, Tom," she whispered. Max let out a soft, contented bark as if agreeing. The bond between them had grown unbreakable, a story of trust, courage, and love. The night passed peacefully, with only the soft sounds of the forest outside. When morning came, the sunlight filtered through the trees again and a new day began. Tom, Mia, and Max woke with a sense of excitement for the day ahead. They prepared for another walk, exploring the forest and enjoying its beauty. The challenges of the past were behind them, replaced by hope, confidence, and the knowledge that they could face anything together. As they stepped outside, Max ran ahead, tail wagging, eager for the adventure. Mia held Tom's hand, feeling strong and safe. The forest welcomed them, filled with life, light, and endless possibilities. Each step was a reminder of their journey, the courage they had shown, and the bond that had grown between them. The small cabin at the edge of the forest was now a place of safety, joy, and new beginnings. Throughout the day, they discovered more wonders: a hidden pond with fish swimming beneath the surface, a grove of tall sunflowers, and small paths where wild animals moved freely. Mia explored carefully, learning from Tom and observing the forest with curiosity and respect. Max stayed close, guiding and protecting her as always. Tom smiled, proud of both Mia and Max for the trust and teamwork they shared. As evening approached, they returned to the cabin, tired but happy. Mia sat by the window, writing in her notebook about the day's adventures. Max rested at her feet and Tom prepared a simple dinner. The cabin was filled with warmth, laughter, and the quiet sounds of contentment. Outside, the forest was calm, bathed in the soft glow of twilight. Before sleeping, Mia hugged Max tightly. "I love you, Max," she whispered softly. Max nudged her gently as if understanding her words. Tom watched them both, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. The journey had taught them all important lessons: bravery, loyalty, and the power of love and trust. Max's desperate scratches at the cabin door had led to this story, a story of hope, protection, and new beginnings. As the fire crackled softly, Tom, Mia, and Max settled into their cozy cabin. The stars shone above, the forest was peaceful, and a sense of completion filled the room. They had faced fear, found courage, and formed bonds that could never be broken. The small cabin at the edge of the forest had become more than a shelter. It was a home filled with warmth, love, and the promise of countless adventures to come. Mia drifted to sleep with Max curled beside her, and Tom watched over them, feeling grateful for the loyalty, courage, and heart that had brought them together. In that quiet cabin, surrounded by the beauty of the forest, a dog's bravery had changed lives. A child's curiosity had led to discovery, and a man's kindness had made it all possible. Together, they had created a story of hope and happiness that would be remembered forever.